Hey, ladies. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Work It Lady Podcast. Today, we are going to be addressing a root cause problem that can lead to bigger problems that a lot of us are not aware of. Today, we are talking about anemia. Nutrition is your new addiction. Okay, anemia is something that I feel like all of us have probably heard at least once in our lives. And we're going to be talking about why it is so important to address anemia today. Make sure you stick around to the end of the episode because I am going to be telling you some fruits and veggies and things that you can eat and do to improve this condition naturally, okay? But first and foremost, please make sure that you are consulting with your doctor. You need to make sure that you are doing your blood work. Please understand that this is not personalized medical advice for you, and you do need to seek the care of a doctor to officially address this issue in conjunction with the tips you get today. Okay, so let's get into it. First, let's clearly define anemia. Anemia is a condition that occurs when your body doesn't produce enough healthy red blood cells, which can lead to a lack of oxygen in the body and can give you some pretty gnarly symptoms: fatigue, shortness of breath, headaches. Your skin and nails often look pretty brittle, just kind of looking like weak skinned, okay? Heart issues, rapid heartbeat, palpitations, your ears may be ringing, buzzing in the ears, hissing in the head or the nose, okay? Your tongue might be sore or even cracked. You may have cravings for ice or things like that, something you feel like you just need a crunch on. And of course, these are ones you really want to pay attention to: chest pain, cold hands and feet, loss of appetite, and concentration difficulties. So the symptoms, you really kind of can feel it when you're anemic. Dizziness is definitely a part of this. Also, heart arrhythmias could definitely be a part of this. Definitely migraines as well, headaches. So if this sounds familiar, one of your main symptoms might actually be heavy periods, okay? And I shouldn't say symptom. This may actually be caused. Anemia may actually be caused because you are having very, very, very heavy periods. So if you're experiencing heavy periods, the tips I'm going to give you at the end of this are also going to help with that, because that is probably one of the main root causes of you being anemic, in addition to the lack of nutritional intake as well. Because remember, this is an iron deficiency, basically. Okay. Now, the main reason that I want to get into this is because this one is a very serious one that we don't realize is serious. Okay, we go to the doctor, and this is why sometimes people get upset. Oh man, I didn't know this, the doctor didn't explain that. If you notice, the doctors, when you go, will be like, hey, you're anemic, we need to address this. They've only got 15 minutes. They can't give you all the reasons I can give you today as to the reasons why you need to address this. But one of the main ones is that it can also lead to cancer development. There's some pretty, straightforward studies on the correlation between being anemic and increased cancer risk. Okay. And if it means anything to you, my mom is someone who has had cancer before, and she was anemic for years. So in her case, that could have been one of the contributing factors. Okay, so if you are anemic, address that, because that could very well lead to you developing cancer later on, because you're low on red blood cells. Your blood is not oxygenated enough, which means it is not able to get rid of toxins in the blood for that very reason. Okay. So again, iron deficiency anemia can be caused by heavy bleeding and other things that are happening in our bodies. All right. So let's talk a little bit in detail. One of the studies I'm going to share is on PubMed, National Institutes of Health, the risk of cancer in patients with iron deficiency anemia. And this was a nationwide population study. This was done I believe in two different countries. Okay. And so basically, the study's point was to evaluate the risk of cancer among patients with iron deficiency anemia. Okay. And basically, I'm just going to read a couple excerpts here that I found interesting from the study. Patients with IDA exhibited an increased overall cancer risk. The subgroup analysis showed that the patients of both sexes in all age group had an increased SIR. After we excluded patients diagnosed with cancer within the first 5 years of IDA diagnosis, the SIR remained sufficiently elevated, between 1.43 and 1.30 respectively. In addition, the risk of pancreatic, kidney, and bladder cancers remained significantly increased after exclusion of patients diagnosed with cancer within 5 years of IDA diagnosis. Overall, cancer risk was significantly elevated among patients with IDA after they excluded patients diagnosed with IDA and cancer within that 1 to 5 years. So again, the increased risk of cancer was not confined just to gastrointestinal cancers, but also pancreatic, kidney, liver, bladder cancers significantly increased, okay, with those who had iron deficiency anemia, okay? And the findings might be caused by immune activities that are altered by IDA. Further study is necessary to determine the even more links between IDA and cancer risk. So numerous epidemiological and experimental studies have shown that iron plays a significant role in cancer development. However, whether iron deficiency or overload leads to carcinogenesis remains controversial. Okay, so nevertheless, all the relevant studies have focused on the causality between iron deficiency and cancer incidence, but that's without accounting for anemia itself. Therefore, there still are more studies that need to be done. But basically, the conclusion is that being low in iron, having iron deficiency anemia, can definitely increase your cancer risk of developing multiple types of cancer. Okay, so that is something that we definitely want to make sure that we are paying attention to, because, this is a root cause. We always, we go to the doctor and we're like, well, what is the reason? What is the root cause? Why? So, if you're someone who's had cancer, what are one of the reasons? Why did I get this? This could be a reason why. Now, is this going to be the reason why for everyone? No. But again, we don't know what all of our risk factors are going to stack up to be and what exactly are going to be what pulls that trigger for certain people. So it's best to just address these things so that you don't have things, stacking up and becoming a problem later on in life. Okay, so there are a couple of different types of anemia. We're going to just talk about this more common one, iron deficiency anemia today. But again, just remember, this type of anemia is what develops when you don't have enough iron in the body. So now the question arises, why don't people have enough iron in the body? Why do we even become anemic? Obviously, you're losing blood during your period. So why do some people lose more blood than others? One of those reasons is too much sugar in our diet. If you are someone who's eating a lot of cakes, cookies, and pies, soft drinks, you are going to absolutely have heavier periods. You are absolutely going to have heavier periods because the sugar makes something go berserk. And you basically start getting heavier periods. Okay, now there's some genetic factors that can go into that. But again, you just have to be diligent in cutting back on the sugar. Now let's talk about two types of iron, because I think it's important to address it because this is, we're going to solve this problem by the things that we eat and do, which I'm going to give you in this episode. So let's talk about two types of iron. There are two types of iron in food. They are heme iron and non-heme iron. Heme iron is found in animal tissue and is actually absorbed more easily by the body. And non-heme iron is found in plant-based foods and is not absorbed as completely, which isn't a bad thing. Our bodies definitely know what to do with the foods that we eat and break the iron down. Those are just the two types. Notice that I'm not mentioning the iron that comes from iron supplements. I just want to insert here that iron supplements, if you are in dire need, can absolutely be great. If you've been prescribed them by your doctor, definitely go for it. But long term, the way you are going to address your iron deficiency, which I've seen in myself and those who I have helped, is actually getting your iron, most of it from food sources. So you're going to have to do a diet change to sustainably have the iron in your system, because the problem that researchers have shared with us regarding iron supplements is that sometimes it's too much iron. So that goes back to that study that I kind of explained a little bit about. Sometimes if you got too much iron in the blood, that can actually increase your cancer risk as well. But when you get it from food sources, it's information entering your body that your body can understand. It can allocate it properly, and you're going to have less chances of adverse incidences, okay? Less chances of cancer development when you eat your vitamins instead of just taking the iron supplement, okay? So again, you've got heme iron and non-heme iron that are found in animal products, animal tissue, and then, of course, the non-heme is the plant-based. Now, here is something that you absolutely need to do. You need to eat foods that are high in vitamin C at the same time that you are eating these iron-rich foods, because vitamin C is going to help absorb the iron that you're eating. So now you're starting to get the picture as why it is important to eat healthy in general, why it's important to have an apple a day or an orange a day, because now you've got that natural vitamin C in your body that has active enzymes because it is alive instead of kind of dead as it is in a supplement. Now your body can say, oh, I've got the vitamin C, it's time to absorb some iron, okay? So vitamin C, tangerines, grapefruit, strawberries, apples, kiwi, lemons, limes, pineapple, all of these things, your fruits work with your veggies. Okay, so when you have these vitamin C rich fruits and then you turn around and eat some broccoli, some green peppers, even white potatoes, okay, leafy green kale, spinach, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, collard greens, those are your iron sources. So when you eat a piece of fruit in the morning and then you turn around and have one of your iron sources that's plant-based in the evening, along with maybe, a little ground beef, or, some chicken. Now you're putting the complete puzzle together for your body, and now your body is going to absorb and retain that iron and prevent you from being anemic. Now, for years, I really was heavy on supplements. The past 2 years, I have made a switch, and I've tried this more natural approach that has been suggested by doctors for years. I remember every time I would go to the doctor and they'd be like, oh, tell me about yourself. What do you do? Oh, yeah, I take a multivitamin and I take this or that. And they'd be like, be careful with the supplements. Try to get your vitamins from food. The end. We've all heard that. I know I am not the only one, okay? And so now you are seeing why the doctors have been telling us that, okay? So again, this is important to do. We got to address these root causes. Now, again, let's talk about the heavy periods. This is why some doctors, if they see you've been anemic for a long time, will push you for a hysterectomy. They're trying to prevent you from getting cancer later on if you are constantly having heavy periods. If your hemoglobin is low, if your iron is low, you are in risk of developing cancer. So they would rather, if you're of age, and you've already had your kids, you know what I'm saying? They'd rather be like, okay, let's just do a hysterectomy, because that hysterectomy could prevent you from being anemic all the time and then going on to develop cancer later on. So again, now we see why doctors push for certain things. We don't always get all the information behind, and I wish there was a way that they had more, time to do longer appointments. Maybe continue to book appointments. If you're not, come in with a small problem, but then use most of the appointment to talk about something else. And then go in and book another appointment and another, go in and see them once a month, whatever it takes, so you can get all your issues addressed. But again, this is why. Why is my doctor telling me I need to get a hysterectomy? Your hemoglobin is like 2 and you're severely anemic and iron deficient. You are at risk for developing cancer. Okay. And so this is one of the reasons why. Okay. So here's a tip that I also have. What I will do is after my period, I will take a multi-vitamin, a plant one. Try to get one that's pressed as opposed to one that is, in like the little, they call it plant cellulose capsule. Or to each his own, whatever you feel is best for you. But as natural as you can, a whole food supplement. It should even maybe look green or look brown, instead of white, in my personal opinion. Take one of those, for a few days after your period, if you suffer with anemia, or if you feel like you just randomly had a heavy period, do that to just kind of give you a boost, and then start incorporating the following foods: walnuts, oranges, apples, spinach. These things are going to help your blood to go up pretty quick. Okay. Grits is another great source of iron. Have some grits every morning, for your breakfast. Put your little salt, little butter on there. If you're on the other team, if your team sweet grits, I won't blast you, as the southerner in me who only believes in the salty, savory grits, won't blast you, because girl, this is, a serious matter. Okay, we trying to save our lives. So if the sweet grits will do it for you, girl, do the sweet grits, because at the end of the day, you need the iron and you're getting it from a food source. Okay. Have some fish. Salmon is a great source. Red meat. Even pork or poultry. These things can be helpful if you're not overdoing it, and if you're eating them in conjunction with fruits and veggies. So that's really the point. And the Mayo Clinic does a really good job. They have a beautiful article entitled Iron Deficiency Anemia, Symptoms and Causes. And they even, towards the end of the article, give some great tips on some foods that you can eat, which they also included the red meat, the poultry, seafood. Beans is another one. Dark leafy veggies, of course. Lentils and peas, even iron fortified cereals and bread. Have a bowl of naked Cheerios in the morning. Those are actually a good source of iron. Not the ones that are doused to death in sugar, but the ones with no sugar on it. You could cut up a banana on top of those sugarless Cheerios, and that's great. Another thing you definitely want to include are your seeds. Pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds are very good at addressing the anemia issue as well. So the point is this: to address anemia in the best way that's going to be sustainable and the most healthiest for your body is a 2-part thing, and that is eating fruits and veggies and eating iron sources, okay? Because the two work together. So if you're eating your fruits that have your vitamin C in it, and then you are pairing that with your dark leafy greens and your meats, now you've got the two things that your body needs to recognize those iron sources, extract that iron, and do what it needs to do. Okay? So there is one other tip that I want to share with you that is going to also actually help your body produce more red blood cells. This is something that we all overlook, and I overlooked for years: exercise. Did you know exercise actually helps your body produce more red blood cells? So if you're anemic, it could also be because you don't exercise. Okay. When you exercise, there's an exchange that happens between your bone and your muscle tissue. They actually release and secrete enzymes and they strengthen each other. And so the enzymes that are released by your muscle strengthen your bone and encourage your bone to produce more blood. And so that is what happens. Okay. So if you're not tapping into yourself, if you're not exercising at all, you could make some of these changes, but you still might be falling short, especially if you've been anemic for a long time. Like, man, I've changed my diet. I've done everything. Start exercising if you haven't. That might be the boost that your body needs to really get activated, activate your metabolism and get that blood being produced. Okay. So those are my tips. All right. If you are a mom and you have little girls, make sure they are active and running around because that's going to actually help them make a good amount of blood. It's going to help them have lighter periods as they mature, as they go through puberty and their early 20s. They are going to not have these heavy period issues. Make sure you're feeding your daughters fruits and veggies because that's going to also help them produce that iron and have a good level of iron in their blood. Okay. So I hope you found this episode helpful. I really wanted to address this one today because this one is so important. This is a root cause issue, guys. And that is what we want to address those root causes. And a lot of those root causes are simple. And you do not need to spend $300 on iron supplements. Your body is going to get iron better from fruits and veggies. I would have never imagined that if you said this to me 8 years ago. I would have stood you down all day and been like, yeah, but it's made by so-and-so and they're so great and this and that and they're proven to do this and that. Where do all of these things come from? They come from food. So why not just eat the food source with the active enzymes? Remember, when you eat a piece of fruit, it's got active enzymes in it. There is no active enzymes in a capsulated vitamin source. That doesn't mean you can't ever have them, though. That doesn't mean you can't ever use them. But if they're your sole source, you're missing out. And as someone who's gone through this transformation, I feel so much better now that I'm eating more fruits and veggies and not being supplement heavy. And again, the supplements can get you in trouble. We've heard it from the doctors before, and we just have to start making the adjustments, okay? The natural fruits and veggies and eating natural things and doing natural things can pair very nicely with the information that we get from our doctors and our trusted peer-reviewed sources of information, okay? So thanks so much for tuning in to Work It Lady Podcast today. I hope this information helps you. If it's helping you out, definitely share it with others. Sharing is caring. Share it with your daughters. Share it with your sisters. Share it with your cousins. Share it with your friends. Share it with people you don't even know. Because at the end of the day, sharing is caring, and we need to care more about each other. When these conversations come up and, let's say you're just riding around in the car, in your car group and someone mentions an ailment they got. If you know this information, share it with them. Oh, I just listened to a podcast that addressed this subject, that I feel is, pretty safe, information I feel comfortable sharing. Share it with them. Help somebody else out with their life. Don't hoard information. All right, ladies, thanks so much for listening to Work It Lady Podcast. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Nutrition is your new addiction.